Distinguished panelists and delegates, good morning to everyone. In the month of September, normally, Delhi would experience a slightly pleasanter weather. That's what I recall from the past. But this year, September has not been so pleasant, notwithstanding the Sustainability Summit, which CII organizes every year. And perhaps what it indicates is a changing pattern of events, especially weather events, which countries like India are affected by. They understand the consequences of these changing weather events, whether it is the huge coastline that we have in India, or it's the Himalayan region, or the vast population that depends on agriculture, that live out of animal husbandry. Nobody could understand the impact of climate change better than people in India. And therefore, India looks at the Paris Agreement as a huge opportunity. I think history is replete with examples where opportunities are provided to different nations, to all of us, to put together something that will work for all of us. And we see that Paris is one such opportunity. And quite interestingly, ironically, it comes in 2015, which is also the year when the world has to put together the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals. And I think quite rightly, development goals would precede the climate change agreement. The climate change agreement which we want to put together in Paris, and I can see that the ambassador is already showing signs of anxiety, and he is more than anyone else keen that we put together an effective, a meaningful agreement. India is also very keen that we understand the realities, the ground realities, as it were, that are facing the world. And as I said, that it is the development agenda which has to drive the climate change agenda. There is a determination in developing countries, particularly in India, to change the paradigm of growth. And what we need to realize is, how will this change come about? There has been a certain pattern of development, of economic growth, of prosperity, whatever you call it, which has dominated the last 100 years. And if the billions of people who want to meet their aspirations, if they have to follow a path which is different from what has been followed earlier, then we must look at the impediments which come in the way of that path. You would have already known that the keenness of a country like India is already reflected in several initiatives and programs that have been launched earlier and which have gathered a lot of momentum. The ambassador spoke of energy security, of energy needs. We are a country where almost 26-27% population do not have access to energy. And even those who have access to energy, if you look at the per capita energy consumption in India, we are about 1/3 of the world average. We are not even talking of developed countries. There is a huge infrastructure deficit that needs to be bridged. There are issues of providing for primary health care, of water availability, of accessibility, of unemployment, of eradication of poverty. And when billions of people in democratic societies aspire for these things, I think it is the bounden duty of all governments to meet or to attempt to meet the demands of its population. So governments will respond to this aspiration. The challenge lies in how government responds to these aspirations, and indeed how a system can gather together the resources that are required to follow this huge development agenda. It is true of the development process. We are not talking of specific countries. And I think this is at the heart of understanding how this new pattern of growth will come about in the world. If due importance is given to the means of implementation, and there are examples in the world where global agreements have succeeded considerably in moving forward in achieving the goals of those agreements because due care was taken about means of implementation. And when I say means of implementation, we are not only talking of finance, we are talking about technology as well, because the paradigm of growth will change if you employ new technologies. Not much effort had been made in the past. For example, if you look at 2 decades ago, I don't think the world was very enthused about renewable energy. Today everyone is talking about it, and India is in the forefront. We have declared a program which is more ambitious than any country in the world. 175 gigawatts of renewable energy in the near future. I think it's a huge task. Quite understandably, there is a question that people have in their mind that how will India achieve this objective? But the same question I think people asked, or the same doubt people raised, say 10 years ago, when renewable energy was virtually non-existent. Today, it is more than 34,000 megawatts of installed capacity in the total portfolio. And it is gathering momentum. It is gathering momentum because of, I think, 2 or 3 reasons. One, the government's dream and determination, which has been translated into policies which the government has announced, whether it is by way of creating a market mechanism of renewable energy certificates, or it is by creating a regulatory mechanism of enforcing the renewable purchase obligation. And it is also the determination to prepare your system, both technical as well as regulatory system, to receive the renewable energy and absorb it into your system. And the other big reason which is driving this change is the competitive force which it has generated. And we find that the tariffs are falling. So I think this is a very positive development, and India is looking towards the investor community to participate in this huge program. The bottom line of the Paris Agreement, as I said, is recognizing the will and the determination and the compulsions of growth of various developing countries, and to enable an environment in which such things are possible. We have engaged very fruitfully, and we are very hopeful that we will not miss this opportunity in Paris. If the agenda has to be driven forward, then it would be good for all the countries to understand what is a win-win situation for all of us. I think this introspection and analysis will provide a number of answers which will make the road to Paris easy. And when I look at the road to Paris, by the way, Mr. Ambassador, I think what I see very vividly written is liberty, equality, and fraternity. And I think it is this spirit which will drive us all towards Paris and take us beyond. While driving to this session, I came across an interesting quote from Martin Luther King Jr., which said that the time is always right to do the right thing. Thank you very much.